Good morning. Today I want to talk about emotions, and especially the healthy flow of emotions and the need for emotions to flow. When we emote, we heal our heart. And often life will bring up situations in which certain emotions, these are strong emotions within us, are triggered. And when they're triggered, that's an opportunity for us to heal past grievances, past conditionings, to change our values, our beliefs, to basically evolve, learn, and grow spiritually. So a strong emotion, so I'm not just talking about everyday waxing and waning. When something's coming up that you're aware, either it comes up suddenly and you're very aware that it's a strong emotion, or it's niggling for days, you know you're not right, you know something's brewing. This is a disturbance in the harmony of your being. And this disturbance is information. Now, the thing to realize is this disturbance is temporary, but it's also this opportunity. So it's coming up for you to do something about it or not. Many people will just push it back down again, and then life will present another situation for it to come up again, and gradually it will come up in more and more of a direct and definite way. So you better to tackle it early on. So Buddhist teachings give us very wise counsel that we should never trust a disquiet mind. So when our mind is in turbulence, or our heart, our emotions are in turbulence, we don't trust or make major decisions or express truths or solve problems when we're in this state. It doesn't mean we don't express the emotions we're feeling. We just don't act on them. We let them pass through us in a safe environment. And I'll talk more about creating this safe environment until we've returned to a state of harmony. And then our discriminative mind can make a wise decision. Usually there's been some understanding, some insight. You might recognize your part in something. You might recognize what you can't change, what you can change. And you can express your highest self, your truth, in a way that will be heard and create positive change. Trying to do this in the midst of strong emotion usually backfires, usually has results that we don't want, usually destroys or really severs strong connections with others. Now, you need to recognize that these emotions are coming up from your personality. You could say your ego, your lower self, and they're there to be expressed as part of this learning, growing, and evolving process so that you rise up into soul consciousness. So it is an opportunity being presented. Strong emotions often arise when we sense an injustice or something that's not right, not good, or not true. And therefore, this is the impetus for us to enact positive change, to move forward to something that serves us well, or to leave behind something that does not. Strong emotions are evoked when our boundary is crossed between what is okay for us and what is not. Like our immune system for the physical body keeps out what is harmful for our body and allows in what is healthful, our emotions are the same boundary for our heart. So when we feel strong emotions, we need to see these as providing information. Okay, so first off, if you see, right, this is providing me with some information. And if you can adopt a curious attitude, this is really helpful. And you might say, but I'm caught up in the emotion. The emotion is overwhelming. And that can be the case. Yes, you might have to adopt that curious, insightful attitude once the energy of the emotion has passed through you. Because another very valuable Buddhist teaching is to recognize that you are not the emotion, you are temporarily experiencing that emotion. So this too will pass idea. So it's not that I'm angry, I am temporarily experiencing anger. And this enables a detachment that enables us to connect with our higher self or step into the observer. And we almost observe ourselves being overwhelmed by emotions. But there's a part of us that knows this is just passing. Like clouds passing through a clear blue open sky. So if we look at a couple of the strong emotions, so anger means something needs healing. Something's been triggered from our unconscious mind. So we're not conscious of it necessarily by another person or life or events. And this means we have the opportunity to look at this and we bring the conscious light of understanding to shine on that issue and to heal, change old patterns, change dramas, resolve and heal old traumas. Sadness means there's something we need to let go of. It might be someone, it might be an idea or a perspective. Often in our society, people would rather feel angry than sad. So anger sometimes masks sadness. When we feel a strong emotion of love, we are feeling connection. We're open. And this is our vibration has lifted up to a higher frequency. When we feel peace, the sense of the strong feeling of peace, we know we're safe and things are in balance and harmony within us. When we feel fear, means that we're feeling cut off, isolated, disconnected from love, maybe disconnected from support, from others, from trust. There's a threat of loss. Often it's rooted in past experience, and anxiety could be seen as fear projected into the future. So fears from the past, we're projecting them, assuming it will happen again in the future, and this creates a state of worry. So if we accept that emotions are there for our spiritual growth, healing, and evolution, and also accept that as we move through our life, they come round on a spiral. So life events or certain emotions, we think we've dealt with anger from our past, and then it comes around again. Life presents it again. You're like, haven't I dealt with this? But what's happened is as we have grown and evolved, it's come around on a higher turn of the spiral. So we dealt before with as much of it as we were able to. Now we can deal with deeper aspects of it, or maybe we didn't deal with the whole issue. These can be karmic issues. These can be major life, soul, contract issues. So we understand that strong emotions are always triggered by something in us that needs healing. Something that needs changing, might be a perspective, or when greater understanding is needed, or maybe forgiveness and acceptance are required. And you can see my previous video on understanding and practicing forgiveness to understand more about what happens when we forgive. Our closest relationships with other people act as a mirror to help us see what needs healing in us and our unconscious and bring these into our conscious awareness. And this is shining the light of consciousness into the unconscious to increase our consciousness and increase our self-awareness. This is spiritual evolution. It's interesting that many people avoid strong emotions. If life presents something as a mirror, they don't take responsibility for it. They will blame other people. Oh, that's such and such, you've made me angry. No, something that that person said or did has triggered anger within you. You need to take responsibility for your own feelings and your own response, because otherwise it'll never heal and you'll just live a life of resentment, and you'll ultimately destroy the relationship you have with those close others. So just be aware when you find yourself, it's almost like if a strong emotion, someone had passed you a basketball, are you passing it on before you've dealt with it? In the Buddhist tradition, they talk about thinking in the heart, and that the evolution or the enlightened person is the person who can combine compassion and wisdom. So this is the thinking in the heart, the love, compassion with the wisdom from the mind. In the more esoteric teachings, this is the essence of the flow of the Christ consciousness through our being. But you notice in both of these, there's an idea of a flow. It's important that emotions flow. It's when they get stuck, or we push them away, or we avoid them, we push them back on someone else, we project them, or when we undertake addictive behaviors to avoid feeling them. And this is to realize that all addictive behaviors, whether it's eating, shopping, drugs, whatever it is, gaming, there's lots of addictions. We are always engaging in that behavior because there's something we want to avoid. And some people will really go to extremes of almost abusing their physical health to avoid certain emotions. But it's just recognizing that those behaviors are avoidance. So to remember that you are not your emotions or your thoughts, you're simply experiencing these strong emotions or these thoughts at this time. And remember, this takes us into the observer. And that detachment, that ability to say, I am just experiencing this emotion at this time, brings great insight, because it means you're staying centered in your higher self or your soul. So you can observe, you can have access to insights that you wouldn't have if you were caught up in the energy of the emotion. It's very important that when that energy of the emotion, if you do get caught up in it, if it is overwhelming, like really strong anger, that you actually do something to allow the energy to flow out of you. And you've got to find a safe environment to do this. And it might be that you need to move. A lot of people find moving gets rid of or helps to let that energy go. So this is why people pace up and down. This is why when someone's angry, they go for a long walk, or they go for a run, or they, flight. Many people find being on your own out in nature, you feel safe to just let the emotion come out. You feel supported by that, being grounded in nature, by that environment. Some people use Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga. There's yoga positions like Makrasana, the crocodile, that can just help strong emotion to release gently, and help bring the insight as well as those emotions move through the chakras. Sometimes what I find really helps is in that moment of being gripped by something and your mind, you're in a loop, you'll have a thought or something's happened that's triggered some thoughts, that's triggered feelings in your body that have triggered more thoughts, and you're going around this thought feeling loop that's building, and you can feel the emotion building. Something that just cuts across it is to think, what would love do? Just right in that moment, what would love do now? And what you find is it just cuts through the build-up, because you know how someone can do something and next thing you're triggering it. It's building a molehill into a mountain. It's building all the injustices that person's ever done, all the resentment you feel inside builds up till you are exploding with emotion. What would love do? Cuts right across that process and brings you into your heart, brings you into that soul perspective, and enables you to detach. And quite often what love would do is say, I need some time out. And you go and deal with the energy of the emotion. Can we come back to this later? And then you solve the issue, you solve the problem, you express what you need to say, you enact some positive change. Or maybe if there's nothing you can do, you accept there's nothing you can do. And that can be a really valuable, what would love do? And this really is the Buddhist thinking in the heart. Men and women deal with emotions very differently. And there's a lot, we fall out with each other when we expect that the other deals with emotions the way we do, and they just don't. So this is a whole topic for another talk. So next week, I'm going to do a talk on the balance of the yin, the yang, the feminine and the masculine, and the way that men and women deal with emotions, and how we can better help trust and respect each other, so that we don't, when we're gripped by strong emotions, we don't break down relationships, we build them. So that's next week's talk that will go in alignment with what I'm talking about today. Now, remember, love is connection. Fear is the absence of love. And courage is the ability to do what's right even when we feel fear. Courage is a high aspect of the heart chakra. It's an advanced emotional response. And sometimes it's just the courage to say, I am sorry, or I don't know what's going on. I need time out. I'm sorry. I'll come back to this. The other thing to realize with strong emotions, especially anger, because anger is the prevalent, anger is the conflict on our planet. We are an angry planet. We're very much conditioned by ray 4, which is the ray where we come to harmony through conflict. There are other spheres and planets in which harmony builds harmony, and they don't have conflict. They don't have conflict to help growth. They grow through more peaceful, harmonious ways. Unfortunately, on this planet, that's not our way. But I want you to realize that there's a real difference in especially anger between red hot anger and cold blue anger. And I think the colors are quite a good image. So red hot anger comes up quickly and it's like a fire. It's explosive. Quite often, that's the one you need to just be careful that its expression, damage limitation. You might need to go and express red hot anger away from the people who have triggered it or the events that have triggered it. Sometimes red hot anger enables a person who hasn't been able to speak. It opens the throat and enables things to be said that they didn't feel safe to say or didn't feel able to say. So sometimes words said in red hot anger are the truth that nobody wanted to go near. Not always. Often it becomes a weapon to, especially if there's blame and, there's projection of feelings and people are not taking responsibility for their own feelings. Red hot anger is a masculine yang expression of anger. Cold blue anger is anger that's not expressed. It goes inward. It's a feminine trait or a feminine way of dealing with anger. And it's held as deep resentment. And this anger, if it builds So it's like resentments are placed on top of resentments on top of resentments. And eventually it might come out in a burst as red hot anger, but realize that cold blue anger, you may not feel angry. It doesn't mean you're not angry. Okay, and this is where it can be difficult. But cold blue anger ultimately causes illness in the person who is holding on to it. So just realize that it blocks chakras, it blocks meridians, it blocks energy flow. It's not a healthy way to deal with a situation. It's a denial of anger. So, and it's dangerous because it destroys authenticity in relationships. So I'm not saying shout and rage and necessarily just let rip with that red hot rage. I'm saying step back, realize it's passing through you, maybe do something with the energy and come back, but don't push it down so it's cold blue. Don't deny the feelings, because the feelings are there for your information. Okay, so think of strong feelings. They're information. They're there to teach me something. So real true spiritual progress is when the issues in your unconscious mind, whatever you brought into this lifetime to be healed, resolved, whatever capacities you need to develop from a soul perspective, as you move through these and you make them conscious and you heal them, you will find that life events no longer trigger an angry response. They just don't. You just don't. You're not triggered by the things that you were triggered before, because the healing is like taking the button out. No one can push that button if the button's not there. And instead, when a person behaves in a way that might have made you angry before, what it evokes in you is compassion. As you realize that person is a soul who's struggling, who's suffering, who's dealing with something and is not, they're trying their best to express it, to deal with it, to cope with what's coming up for them. And then you can just hold a space of compassion for that person. And often this helps their healing. And this is true spiritual progress, when it's not that you're suppressing anger and it's not that you're suppressing anger, you're just not getting angry anymore because you've healed the things that triggered, or you're not getting so upset or overwhelmed or anxious or all of the strong emotions, because those things have been healed. And so you've got more room in your heart for compassion for others, and you hold a space to help them. You also no longer stand in judgment of others. You find in your heart, it's, oh, bless, they're suffering. You see when someone else is angry, they're suffering. You don't say, oh, that's an attack on me. That's your ego. Do you know what I mean? You see, oh, they're suffering. Oh, I've been there. I know what that feels like. You have compassion for that suffering. So there's no judgment. We're all work in progress. We're not all enlightened beings yet, but we're all helping each other get there. We're on the path. You also don't feel responsibility for the behavior of others, even those closest to you, even your children. You know that you're only responsible for your own behavior, your own choices, your own thoughts, your own feelings. You're not responsible for feelings or emotions in another. And this is where that sort of blame game comes in. If someone's saying, you are making me angry, it's like, no, something I've done is triggering anger in you. I can see that something I've done has made you angry. Once you've dealt with the anger, can we come back and talk about it? Because I don't want to do things that make you angry. Let's work that out. Do you see how the spiritual practice, especially of meditation, enables you to step back and be the observer? And when you are detached in that way, judgment and criticism don't come in. You're more in touch with that compassionate heart. You see things with greater insight. You see them from a higher soul perspective, and you're going to interact in a situation in a much better way. One way to help this process is often to see the kindness in others. And this is another quite conscious thing that we decide to do. So if someone has really upset you or behaved badly, there'll be some kindness in them, or in the past, they will have been kind to you. And sometimes just tuning into that kindness or a love you felt for them, even if you don't feel it in this moment, the love's still there behind this moment. Okay, just remembering this can help bring us into that compassionate heart and stop that build-up of emotion, of that molehill becoming a mountain. When we practice gratitude, we naturally focus on the kindness of others. And this is very interesting because as soon as you think about why you're grateful for that person, usually you're grateful for the kindnesses they have showed you, for the care, for the support. We can always find something to be grateful for. It might be if a situation is really, there's nothing you can do and it's just not a healthy situation, the kindest thing might be to just walk away and say, let's just leave this, walk away. And you have gratitude for the fact that you were able to do that and that they were able to hear that. So gratitude is a habit we cultivate, another example of thinking in the heart, or a choice of how we see the world, other people, and our life. It's a choice. For example, we could think of gratitude as the beauty that we attract more of because we're grateful for it. So when we see the soul in another, when we see another through the eyes of our soul, we attract their soul qualities. When we focus on their faults and we judge and we criticize and we nitpick, we attract more of that. We're not being grateful for them at all. We're projecting all our response onto them. We're blaming them and we're not dealing with it ourselves. We're not letting the emotion flow through us and heal us and lift us up to a higher level of that spiral of spiritual growth. I think I've talked to you about the fact that the HeartMath Institute has found that when we spend 4 minutes in an attitude of gratitude, feeling, not thinking gratitude, but feeling gratitude in our heart, that we see a whole lot of positive physiological changes in our body. Okay, so there's a decrease in blood pressure and heart rate, breathing rate, increase in stimulation of the vagal nerve, decrease in inflammation, decrease in tension, and positive change in the cell environment, the pH and etc. of the cell. And when we experience strong emotions, there's a lot of very negative effects. Bubbling anger causes irritation and inflammation in the body. Cold blue anger, even suppressed, still causes inflammation, deeper inflammation. So the beauty of gratitude is it changes your perspective. It mentally changes your mind and rewrites the negative programs of judgment, criticism in your unconscious mind. We choose to see the glass half full or half empty, or maybe an empty glass that can always be filled, continuously filled. We can look for the silver lining. We can do a meditation where we know that the true nature of our mind is the clear blue open sky, where the sun, our soul, is always shining. And clouds are just the thoughts and emotions that pass through. We're just temporarily experiencing those thoughts and emotions. They're not defining who we are. We are the clear blue open sky where the sun, our soul, is shining. We are light. We are love. The idea that this too will pass is we come to accept the impermanence of all things in our worldly experience. And the part of us that accepts this impermanence is our permanent higher nature or soul. For things like judgment, criticism, or a strong attachment to being right, or that our ideas are better than those of another, all close, or ingratitude, these all close the heart. They create disconnection from others, from life, from love. And they create a painful disharmony in the mind and the body that eventually leads to dis-ease. And this dis-ease in the body is often the soul's way of waking us up to our state of mind. Gratitude enables us to connect and keep our heart open, even when we're still healing and the forgiveness process is still happening. So gratitude will help you, even when you haven't come to full acceptance and forgiveness, it'll help you still walk that path. Gratitude bridges the gap of pain in any conflict. So asking, what would love do? What am I grateful for? Seeing the kindness in the person or the event that has triggered your strong emotion, allowing yourself to feel the emotion. So this flow of emotion, not avoiding the emotion. We're going to do a meditation in a few moments where you take some emotion and instead of backing away from it, because we very much do this as human beings, we seek pleasure and we avoid pain. We're going to go into the pain, because when we go into the pain, we find amazing insights. Well, I won't, you can experience it in the meditation. But suppression, denial, or avoidance cut us off from the flow of life, from a connection with others, cut us off from peace, love, joy, abundance, and a true connection with ourselves. So we need emotion to flow. It's a temporary state, and this too will pass. And we come back to that beautiful place of peace and harmony again, knowing that we have moved on our spiritual path and we have greater insight and understanding. So I'm going to leave the understanding of that for now. Like I say, next week I'll go a bit more into the feminine, masculine, yin yang energies and the different responses of men and women, and why strong emotions often unravel relationships. They break rather than build relationships between men and women, because we don't understand the differences between us, don't respect them, and get caught up in thinking that the other is like us when they're not. They're really not. So that's next week's video. For now, we're going to go into a meditation where instead of avoiding emotion, we're going to go into it. So this is like in yoga, when you do a stretch, instead of avoiding the feeling of the stretch, you go into the feeling of the stretch. You go into that feeling, and then you find that it eases and it goes, and the muscle gently and the tendons gently stretch, and you have a new, longer, better muscle. So we're going to do the same with our mind and practice this detachment that meditation teaches us, so we can be the silent witness and the observer of our emotions and not ruled by them. Okay, I think of the mind as, if emotions are equated to the water element. So when we're flooded by strong emotion, it's like a huge wave has come over us, and the mind can be our surfboard. So the mind, we can hop up on that surfboard and ride that wave into shore, into truth. Or we can be swamped by that wave. And so meditation develops the strength of our surfboard. Okay, so make yourself comfortable. You want your feet flat on the floor, uncrossed. Back reasonably upright, doesn't have to be rigid. You can be supported by the chair. Hands resting gently in your lap. And gently close your eyes. And just for a moment, let your mind clear of everything I've talked about, everything, the thoughts it's triggered, the feelings it's triggered. You can come back to those. And just in this moment, for now, I want to connect to the earth. So imagine through the soles of your feet or the base of your spine, you're sending a deep energetic connection down into the earth. Because nature understands harmony and flow. It is the flow of life. And we can glean much from this connection. And she will help us to heal. Now come into an awareness of your body sitting on the chair in the room. Be aware of the clothes on your skin. Become aware of the sounds in the room. So you're present in this moment, accepting it as it is. Now bring that same awareness to your breath. Just gently observing the breath, breathing through the nose if you're able to. Watch the air come in through your nostrils. Watch it leave. Allow your body to relax. Shoulders to relax. Tummy to relax. With each in-breath, just take that breath a little deeper. If it helps, you can place your hands just on your tummy. And imagine that you're slowly, deeply breathing into your hands and your tummy is filling with air. As you breathe out, your hands come back towards your body, releasing that air. And you watch the flow. You watch the flow come in. You watch the flow pass out. And you know you are connected to that flow of life through your breath. When your mind wanders, just gently bring it back to the focus on your breath. And we come back without any judgment or criticism. We come back with an attitude of loving kindness. As you focus on the breath, you'll find your mind quieten. And by following the breath, you can come into a deep peace within your being. And you may find that you're able to simply observe your thoughts. So thoughts simply arise in your mind, pass through your mind, and pass out of your mind. So the thoughts that pass through don't matter so much. It's the ones we hold in our mind. So we're just going to let all thoughts pass through. Returning to our focus on the breath. Think of your mind, its true nature, as a clear blue open sky, where the sun or the light of your soul, the wisdom, is shining. The thoughts in your mind, the feelings in your body are just passing through like clouds. Sometimes thin, wispy clouds that pass through quickly. Other times the clouds seem to obliterate your whole mind. So you can't see the clear blue open sky anymore, and the light of your soul is unable to shine through. But when we know these are just clouds, even if they're dark storm clouds, they are clouds, and they too will pass. We can return to that clear blue open sky where the sun is shining. Now I want you to bring to mind a strong emotion that you have experienced recently. You might want to start with a sort of a smaller one rather than the big major one, or you might want to tackle the big major one. That's up to you. But in your mind, just enable that situation to come about, so you remember feeling that strong emotion. Or if you're feeling strong emotions at the moment, a feeling of unease, and you're not sure what it is, but you know emotionally you're not right, just bring that into your mind. So you're actively seeking that strong emotion. Now, if thoughts start building about who's to blame and what went on and all of that, just let them go. Just feel the emotion. Focus on the feeling. And it will get uncomfortable for a little bit. You might find tension in your body. But I want you to just sit with this feeling. Sit with the discomfort. Still breathing deeply, quietly, slowly. Just allow that feeling. Allow yourself to feel it. Go deeper into the feeling. If there's a release, you need to cry, cry. Let it flow. Let your body emote. And in meditation, we just sit with this feeling until it eases, until we gain some insight into the situation, until wisdom arises. And this teaches us to observe our feelings, to not be frightened of them, and to see them as a source of information. When you've sat with a strong feeling once, you can do it again and again and again. This is courage. I am temporarily experiencing this feeling. It is passing through my being. It is there for my learning and my growth. It is there to bring me, to return me to harmony. I embrace this feeling. Now, if you need to pause the video and just spend longer with this feeling, please do. Don't abandon this practice, or you may find you have to do this a few times to really get to the heart of this feeling. And now gently let your awareness of that feeling subside. You may still feel it in your body. And start to come back to an awareness of your body sitting on the chair in this room. Come back to an awareness of your breath and take a nice deep breath. And when you're ready, just simply opening your eyes with full awareness. Now, if the feeling is still in your body, if it didn't release, or you didn't gain any insight, or you can feel there's still something there, I would suggest that you do one of several things. Try going for a walk in nature on your own. Try sitting in meditation for a bit longer, just sitting with the feeling. You can try writing. So you just write, not so anyone else will ever read it. You might write a song, you might write poetry, you might just write what we call stream of consciousness writing. You just write as you feel. And this can sometimes help us to become aware of how we're feeling and what the root cause is. You can do a yoga posture called Makrasan. And if you Google my name and Makrasan or the crocodile, you'll find on YouTube there's a video that teaches you this posture. It is designed exactly for this. But don't push this feeling away. This feeling is here for your growth. And once this is past, you will feel so full of light. You literally will be a new person. And you will have also learned how to deal with strong emotions, which is an absolute must in the world as it is, and part of your spiritual growth and evolution. So don't ignore it. If the feeling's still there in your body will speak to you. Or you might just need to go somewhere in your car, shut the windows and scream. You might just need to cry. You might need to punch a pillow. Whatever you need to do to let that emotion out. And with it will come the insights, the understanding, the forgiveness, the acceptance, all that you need for your growth. So I wish you well. Namaste.